in a Podcast. We're so glad you're here. We're your hosts, Natasha and Lindsey. Long time no see.
Hello, friend.
Hello. I have decided that we need to add to our Christmas tradition list going forward, movie night with a theme.
Agreed. I had so much fun, and I think themes make everything better.
Themes make everything better. So last night we got together and we watched my favorite, The Grinch, with Jim Carrey, Natasha's least favorite, and it's fine. I forgive her.
Hey, I still went along with it, and I didn't complain. It was cute.
Yeah.
And I did laugh a couple times.
I learned a lot more watching it with kids present in the room of adult themes that were happening than I realized in years past. There were moments where I went, oh, huh. Alrighty then.
Same. I also didn't notice a couple of things ever until we were watching it last night. And I went, oh, that's a sneaky little thing they just did there.
Sneaky. But it was so much fun. I think that watching the movie was great. Your oldest admitted that he liked it better that time than the first time he ever saw it.
It's true. To be fair, he was like 4, I think, the last time that he saw it. So,
okay, fair.
So I think that's probably more his speed now because he's 10 and a half.
Yeah. But my favorite part was just like all the creative little foods that we dived into, and not that we did anything big or special, but it was just cute. I thought
it was fun. Roast I agree. Roast beef sandwiches and puppy chow, and it was great.
Yeah, I've been thinking about those ranch crackers all day. They were a real problem for me.
They're so good. So good.
And so easy. So just
there you go.
Yeah.
So here's our holiday tip to you. Have a holiday themed Christmas movie night.
And don't overthink it.
Yeah. We really just put it all together. And we had way too much food.
Way too much food. Well, we skipped an episode because we had a lot of stuff going on the past week. I was very unfortunately sick with some sort of something that was not fun for 4 days. And that took me out, so I could not record on a Sunday.
And that's okay. I think.
And along with being sick, my grandfather passed away last Sunday. So there was just a lot of needed time to step away from life a little bit. It felt like I was keeping my head above water to go to work and keep a little bit of social routine in there. But a lot of my evenings were filled with just coming home and sitting and processing. And it was nice to be able to just take that break. And I love that we've created this podcast to kind of ebb and flow with what works for us right now. And that's what was needed and what worked.
Yeah. And, I think it's okay that sometimes we skip the routine and, like you said, ebb and flow with what needs to happen. I've been running every single day for like 2.5 weeks now. So it was a lot to try to squeeze in a recording too. So when we weren't able to do it, I was like, it's okay. Like we'll make up for it, or we'll skip it and it will be fine and everything's good.
Yeah, absolutely. So we thought we would come on with the holidays right around the corner, doing something fun, and a fun holiday Christmas episode was on our agenda of things to do. We had talked about that, but we did that last year. We talked about all of our favorite Christmas things and Christmas traditions. And I think in the spirit of losing a loved one so close to the holidays, we just, learned of his passing on last Sunday evening. I've really just been sitting with grief and gratitude around the holidays and how those two can coexist. Before we even started recording, we know we did grief as a mini series not too long ago. But I don't think that we really touched on how to handle it around holidays, but also how grief and gratitude can coexist together at the same time. in your everyday life, not just around the holidays, but every day.
Yeah, it's something that we definitely can talk more about today because I think you're right. Like it's a little different than just talking about grief. Um, because it can feel, especially around something like the holidays or a big event or um a milestone of some sort, right? Like there's that moment of this is exciting and I'm really excited that this is going on, but also feeling that twinge of, but I wish that this person was here for this, or that I felt differently, or it can feel like you're being torn a little bit because you have that moment of, I feel so great, like this is exciting. And oh, like this kind of hurts too. And and you're right, both of those things can coexist at the same time. It's just a matter of how we walk with it and have those two things in our hearts at the same time. But I think it's a normal thing that we all walk through.
Yeah, I think that it's important to keep space for both of those, especially whenever you're celebrating holidays and birthdays and just everyday life with the people that you love, being present for them while they're still here. And, I've spent a lot of time in this past week talking to my dad. It was his dad that he lost, and thinking a lot about him losing his dad so close to the holidays. My grandmother, who lost, the love of her life for 60 plus years. And this will
Wow.
be her first holiday without him. His birthday's in January. So there's a lot of firsts that she's going to be walking into at the beginning of the year. But knowing, for me, I haven't spent Christmas in Florida with my family in a lot of years, not because I wouldn't love to do that, but, work, job, life, Christmas, you don't get a ton of time off. And I just started a new job. So taking time off around the holidays is hard. And flying around the holidays is expensive. And I could tell you 100 million excuses as to why I don't do it. But at the end of the day, like, it's just not something that's been feasible for me. But I think about, I usually take a vacation around February or March, usually to thaw out because I'm, a popsicle up here.
Fair.
So
That's fair.
it's nice to go south for a few days and in the winter months up here. But I'm thinking about already, like, my next visit home, he won't be there. And my next visit home will probably be in the next couple of weeks for a service, but it's going to be weird to sit in front of my grandmother and not have my grandfather telling stories. And it's going to be weird not calling on Christmas and wishing him a Merry Christmas. Like, those moments are starting to set in and they're heavy around the holidays. And I think that one of the things that I wrote down for this is like the absence feels louder when traditions highlight who's missing. And
Hmm.
so even though I'm not going home, there's always that call on Christmas. And it was always a point I'd wake up in the morning and I kind of run through my family list. I call my mom, my dad, and I talk to my brother, and then I call my grandparents, and then I text my aunt. And so, like, I'm thinking about, like, that call is going to feel so different this year. It's going to feel shifted a little bit in that piece there. But what about you for grief? Like, what is something that you think of when you think grief around the holidays?
Yeah, I think the year first, like you said, is a big one. When we lost my father-in-law in 2020, that first Christmas was definitely hard, for sure. And there were a lot of emotions around that because my mother-in-law stayed with us that year, and my husband just had a really hard time. And just like watching him kind of figure out how to navigate that and learning to have patience and just allow him to have the space he needed to be able to feel it and just support him through it really showed me a lot about grief and how, sometimes it's hard to show up for your family when you don't feel it yourself. And I've felt that too myself. Like, I've talked a lot about having depression, and have been Christmases that, you try really hard and you just don't have it in you. And you don't necessarily feel excited or feel Christmassy. And learning to just give yourself grace in those moments and be like, okay, I can't give you something I don't have,
Mm,
um, but I'm still going to be present and be here for you, like for my family, for my kids, and just taking it as it comes and having the the strength to just kind of sit with where you are, because that's all you can do, because you can't be somewhere that you're not. And if you're not in a place to be joyous and excited and all of that, that's okay. It won't be like this forever. And I think sometimes we feel so consumed by it that we just feel like, well, this is just how I'm going to feel for the rest of my life. Or at least that's how I felt. And, there is hope on the other side. So holding on to that and just knowing like this is a season and it feels different, and that's okay. I'm just going to
Yeah.
give myself grace in the moment and walk through it one step at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think the other thing I think of around the holidays is that grief's like the timeline starts to kind of blur for grief a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I always relate it back to losing my grandmother, my Nana, who was my rock and probably the hardest. Like I loved my grandpa, don't get me wrong, and that's hard losing him. But my Nana and I had a very different relationship, and it was very, very hard when we lost her. And now I'm at this place in life where it's been 11 years, and it's crazy to say that and think that it's been that long. But the timeline starts to blur because there are some days where it feels like just yesterday, and then there's other days where I'm walking through the store and I see a display of poinsettias and my heart aches for how long it's been since I've seen her last, and
Yeah.
um, I think, when you're saying give yourself grace because there really is no timeline onto how that feels. Like
Right.
there will be moments where you are filled with just the overwhelming, oh my goodness, they're really not here. Another year of them not being here. And then you're filled with the moments of, oh, wow, I can't believe it's been that long. It feels like just yesterday, and you're cherishing their memories. I heard a quote recently that said, people die twice.
Mm.
And it really stopped me. And they were saying they die when they die, and they die when we stop talking about them.
Mm.
And
Wow.
yeah, and that really hit me, like, the memories that, you know, I can remember what my nana's house smelled like all those little things, but I
Mhm.
talk about her a lot. I talk about who she was to me and what she meant to me, and so that quote really settled in my heart, like, they die when they die, and they die when we stop talking about them, when we
Mm.
stop giving their memory a presence in our lives.
Wow. That's so good. I've never thought of it that way, but it's so true though.
Mhm,
Um, like my grandfather passed away 13 years ago, and like you said, it's not a linear timeline, right? And so sometimes I'm like, wow, I really miss him, and then other times I'll hear somebody talk that sounds like him, and then it's like that aching you said about like seeing the poinsettias, like you don't realize how much you miss them until like that memory is triggered, and then you're like, oh my goodness, like I'd
mhm,
love to give him a hug right now and pat his little bald head. Like, he was the cutest little bald man. And so like those little things are the things that we take with us and we cherish.
mhm.
And um it's yeah, it it stays with you forever.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. I was talking to my cousin recently, and after my grandfather passed, and she was telling me that she took my grandmother out, and my grandfather loved Bloody Marys. That was like his brunch to go. He would have a drink with him, Bloody Marys, and he didn't drink often, really, but I always remember that about him, and I think they're disgusting, but I loved the sentiment that they went out and all had a Bloody Mary for him,
Aw.
just like in his memory. And we were sharing just like different little moments, right? And I was thinking about when we all get together as a family for Christmas for years of our lives, even into adulthood. I can't even like think of when the tradition really stopped. Probably when they moved to Florida and as they got older. But my grandfather always gave us animal crackers every year for Christmas, along with like a check or something like that, or money, whatever.
Yeah.
But I never remembered those gifts. I always just remember like there was always a bag of animal crackers, and the older we got, the bigger the bag got. And so I thought, well, how cute would it be to just, when we honor his life, to bring animal crackers for all the grandkids and the great grands, because that was something that he always made a big tradition for us.
For my sisters and I, it's donuts.
Yeah.
So for a long time, my grandfather would hand my mother a $20 bill, and he would tap her and be like, Vic, go get the girls some donuts.
Oh,
They need donuts. And so she would have to stop by the nearest Dunkin' Donuts and get a dozen donuts, and we would share them. And my sister and I were just talking about that not that long ago because the butter crunch donuts were his favorite.
Mhm.
He was diabetic, so he didn't very often eat them with us, but he
Yeah.
would just be beside himself with excitement to have my mom pick up donuts for us. And so we were talking about that not that long ago. And I think my sister and I someday might actually even get a little tiny donut tattoo um, to remember my grandfather, because that was just something that we will always remember. He had to get us donuts, and my mom would be like, "They don't need donuts, Dad," and he'd be like, "Just get them some donuts."
Bring them the donuts. That's so cute. I love that. I love that.
And
Uh,
I don't remember, like you said, like I don't remember him like giving us lots of gifts or anything like that,
yeah.
but we would have donuts every Wednesday with Grampy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, like, the materialistic things kinda start to fade, but the consistent memory piece of it, right? Like, I know he gave us gifts and things like that, but I just remember there were always animal crackers every Christmas. Um,
Oh,
the more I thought about this episode too, like, I thought about the pressure to be happy, which can make grief feel isolating. Like, you
mm,
almost, like, feel like you have to put on a performance, especially around holidays, to
yeah.
be happy, and I think you said it earlier, and I think you say it best, that give yourself grace, give yourself space. Like, if you need to
Hmm.
step away for a minute, do that. Make sure, if you're a planner like me, you're scheduling that time for yourself to, like,
Yeah.
have a minute. When I'm thinking about traveling for my grandfather's service, and what can I do to protect myself and protect my sanity, my peace,
Yeah.
that there, because there's going to be a lot of big emotions. I lost my grandfather, but, like, I have a dad who lost his dad. I have a grandma who lost her husband, and there's going to be a lot of big emotions all around. And it's important that we're there and present for the people that we love, but it's also important that we're present for ourselves and taking space for ourselves as well. I recently was journaling, and I for the new year, and that's a whole nother topic, but I was writing down, like, what is the one thing that I struggle with the most? And it's commitment, but not commitment to other people. It's commitment to myself. Um,
Mm,
and so when I relate it to grief, it's easy to be there for other people and hold space for other people. But why isn't it easy for me to hold space for myself and give
mm,
myself the grace that I need? Um, and so that goes, the commitment is just the same thing. It's easy for me to commit to plans like what we did last night and committing to things like that. And being there for a friend if they need me, but why can't I hold on to those commitments for myself? So that's a whole other topic for another day.
we'll jot that one down.
Yeah. Yeah.
I read something earlier this week too that just said, in terms of like having peace during the holidays, and, whether it's grief related or complicated family dynamics. And I found this one to be really helpful because for me, I like to know what the exit strategy is. And that's what it was talking about, like having an exit strategy. So if you need to, like going into family functions, or, scenarios like a funeral or a service like you're going into, like knowing what your strategy is, like if you're feeling like it's too much, or maybe it's a certain time frame that you give yourself, like I'm going to pop into this event, but I'm only staying for an hour, so
Mhm.
that you can go in with a clear head, knowing exactly what is expected of you, and then you can leave. And then you've done your part.
Yeah.
And for me, I like that because then it will allow me to have like, I can breathe long enough to know, like, okay, this is what the plan is. We're
Mhm.
going to do this thing and then we'll leave. Right. And for me to feel like I could be present enough to what's happening, it helps put my brain at ease when I know what the
Yeah.
exit plan is.
Yeah, absolutely. I love a good exit strategy. When we go out to eat, I have to sit where I can see the exit. That's how much I like to have my exits planned out. I wanna know, how am I getting out of here? Um, yeah, I think too that with grief, like, it's just a reminder that there's no there's no space that love didn't exist, right? Like whenever you're going through that, love didn't really have a place to go. Like when someone passes away, that love is still there. And
Mhm.
so like it kind of just sits because they're not physically there, so you can't physically show them your love. You can't write them a card. You can't like there's nowhere for that to go except for to
Yeah.
sit inside of you. And so I think being able to just sit with it and know like I loved them so much and they loved me so much and letting that feeling just settle in your heart that yes, they're gone, but that feeling of love never has to leave you. It's still always going to be present for you.
Yeah, that's so good.
And then gratitude, because that's what I really want to focus on for the holidays. So I wrote down gratitude honors what was, not just what is. So I think, we talked about the donuts, we talked about the animal crackers, and like those are the memories that we remember. And I think that that's a great example of gratitude isn't just for what was or for what is, but it can also be for what was in the
Mhm.
past, right? And so we're so thankful for those memories, and that can exist at the same time as grief.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to choose between grief or gratitude, and that's a big one. I think that it's easy to
Mm.
get caught up in like I have to feel all the happiness today and all the thankfulness today and all the good feelings today. And tomorrow I can hold grief, but it's okay. And hopefully you're spending the holidays with your safe space, your family,
Yeah.
friends, surrounding yourself with those people. And I'm so thankful for me that I've created a small village of people that I can be really, really happy in the moment and then step away to go get my water and tears start to well up in my eyes. And they understand and they get that and they can catch it and say, it's okay. Both things can exist right where you are right now in this moment.
Yeah. And that's important. Like having a good support system, I think is one of the biggest things that help you when you're in the middle of that because you need support and that can look like a lot of different things. And knowing that you have people that support you and will walk with you through it is huge. And it makes that season of grief feel a little bit lighter because you know that you can express it with the people you can express it with and you can sit with it and share it and know that you're not alone in it because like you said it can feel very isolating but it doesn't have to be with your village of people and letting them in to see it and sit with you in it really like lightens that burden of the heaviness that grief can bring.
Hmm. Yeah. And sometimes you don't even have to speak it, right? You can just say, like, this is hard, and just sit with that. And having those people that you can just sit with that in, but also that are there to lift you up and to continue creating those memories with at the same time. I don't really know how to express that. I guess I go back to yesterday, right? Like I was still in my feelings yesterday with everything that's going on and conversations with my family and hearing the hurt and the sadness and the
Mm.
grief, you know, from different family members and sitting with that and feeling my own grief and my own sadness, but also still being able to sit in a moment of joy and create memories with the people around me at the same time. And there's moments where you sit with that and you're like, I feel like I'm doing a disservice to the person that I'm grieving because now I'm out making memories that are positive and joyful. But I also know my grandfather, and he would never want me to sit in that,
Right.
space of sadness and mourning over him. And so finding that balance of, yes, I need to grieve, but yes, my life is still going to go on, and there's still going to be amazing
Yeah.
moments that I get to have space in while that grief is kind of going through. And grief looks different for everyone based on
Hmm.
our relationships with the people that we're mourning. That makes it
Yeah.
completely different too, right?
Yes, for sure.
So I would say this holiday season, this isn't a long episode. It was more of just a reflective, here we are in the holidays. And sometimes it's hard to do that, to holiday in the holidays. I think the biggest takeaway for me is you don't have to choose between grief or gratitude this holiday season. You're allowed to have both. So give yourself permission to grieve, give yourself permission to be thankful and to find joy in those things. It's okay to miss deeply and still smile genuinely. Talk about the people that you love. Talk about the people that you're mourning this holiday season. Because, like we said, people die twice. They die when they die, and they die when we stop talking about them. And if the holidays make you think of all the people in your life that you're missing, that you wish had a seat at the table this holiday season, say their name. Talk about the memories that mattered the most to you this holiday season. The holidays can be tender, not just joyful. And that's just, it can be a moment where you are reflective and that your heart feels maybe a little bit more tender than most days because you're in your feels. And that's okay. Give yourself space, give yourself grace. And most of all, healing doesn't mean forgetting the person during the holidays. So just because your heart feels a little lighter doesn't mean that the person didn't matter at the end of the day.
That's so good. What a great reminder, and something we can hold on to while we're walking through grief and the holidays.
Yeah. So from our families to yours, we wish you a very Merry Christmas, and we hope that you have a great holiday season with your family. That's a wrap on this episode of Two Main Friends in a Podcast. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram. You can also send us an email at twomainfriends@gmail.com. And as always, leave us a review wherever you're listening.